Hello and welcome to my channel, all you awesome gamers. I've got an update in the quest log for you today on Metaphor Refantazio. These will be my impressions on this game, which I'm about 15 hours in and expect to play for at least another 40. If you're concerned for spoilers, all the footage shown here will be from trailers and early gameplay. I knew nothing about this game. I watched 0 trailers, read 0 guides, and 0 gameplay. This is a blind playthrough. My only experience going into this has been with previous Atlus games like Persona and Shin Megami Tensei. If you were like me and don't know anything about this game, Metaphor Refantazio is a dark fantasy set in the kingdom of Uchronia. The king has just been assassinated, and the kingdom without an heir is plunged into chaos. You play as a silent blue-haired protagonist named Marth, whose main mission is to save his best friend, the prince, heir to the throne, believed dead, but is in fact alive, yet dying from a magical poison inflicted on him by the main antagonist. Before I get into the details, I really like this game. It is a lot of fun, and there's a reason that it's nominated for Game of the Year 2024. So what does this game do right? Metaphor Refantazio has a killer art direction. Its style portrays a perfect balance between dark and light, and gritty and whimsical. This game has beautifully animated cutscenes that pop with color, with a shade of dark that adds to the ambiance. Every major character has dialogue portraits that move as they talk, and that animation gives much needed life to these characters. This game also feels old, but new. It modernizes what made previous Atlus games so good through utilizing aesthetic that honor the history of all the previous Atlus games. Marth is a silent protagonist that talks. I know it sounds contradictory, but you'll get what I mean when you play it for yourself. To me, he kind of feels like a toned-down version of Commander Shepard from Mass Effect.
Costing hundreds.
I've had enough of your disingenuous assertions.
Where you pick a line, he adds some flair to it. And he also speaks in cutscenes too. I'm not a fan of the silent protagonists. I think they're awkward and don't do a whole lot. This is a great happy medium. All silent protagonists should be this going forward. There's no reason to have a character in your game that doesn't say anything. So I love that when you pick your dialogue wheel option, you don't have to pretend what his voice sounds like or pretend what he's saying. You get to hear it. That is a beautiful way to handle a silent protagonist. The combat in this game is solid, and it's also accompanied by a well thought out progression system. Metaphor Refantazio has a quick, turn-based combat with sprawling dungeons and streamlined engagements against under-leveled enemies. All enemies have weaknesses, and when you exploit those weaknesses, you get to double the amount of things that you can do per turn. Managing your skills and equipment correctly can often lead to taking 2, maybe even 3 turns in a row. This game is not all offense, because enemies can do the same thing against you. Throw up your defenses to not get stomped into the ground. Preparing before major boss battles or an enemy that you have encountered in the past can really help you succeed in the fights. The combat animations are fluid and also really nice to look at. At the end of every single battle, you gain 4 resources: XP, money, class XP, and mag. XP functions just like you think it would. You level up in a classic JRPG fashion, you gain some stats, maybe allocate some points. The class experience increases the power of your class, unlocks new moves and abilities. The money you just use to buy stuff like any other game. I think the most interesting resource, however, is the mag. You could either sell it for money to upgrade your equipment, maybe buy some new items and help you prepare against future enemies, or you can use it to unlock new classes or upgrades for those classes. Final thing I really like about the combat system is that they've incorporated a dynamic class system that allows for frequent experimentation with very little to no drawbacks. Once you unlock the ability to do so, you can change classes at any time. You can also inherit skills from other classes to be used in any class, as long as you spend the corresponding mag. This game also has a solid gameplay loop. You can choose between story progression, character progression, or side quest progression. If you've ever played a Persona-like game before, this part will be very familiar to you. You have to manage your resources, which is time, to either level up, go forward in the story, or maybe do some side quests. It's this gameplay loop that makes Atlus games special and different from any other JRPG. And the final thing I really like about this game is that the antagonist is cool, kind of to a fault. I want to play as him. Seeing his story so far what actions he's taken makes you think, man, this guy's a strong, competent, and interesting character. He has some mysterious motivations. He takes decisive and impactful actions throughout the game, to the point where I look at him and say, why am I not playing this dude? This dude's really cool. He's done some pretty terrible things, and I bet that he has some ulterior motives here. Not only does he have an awesome character design, he has a cool backstory. I kind of want to play his game. All right. What does this game do wrong? I'm gonna warn you, I'm about to tear into this game because I like it a lot. I really do. Every time I end a session, I just want to get right back to it. However, I can't ignore this game's problems. It's the writing. It treats me like I'm stupid. Why try to write about complex topics for mature gamers, then explain it to me like I'm 5?
You serious?
The game spends more time telling me what happened than showing me. For obvious JRPG reasons, Marth is made the captain of the party. I get not 1, not 2, but 3 3-minute scenes explaining to me why I am the team leader. It's a redundant reiteration of every major plot point of this political story that drives me nuts. The writers just don't trust the player to follow what's happening on the screen. I'm not stupid. I don't need to hear why we can't just assassinate the main villain for the 5th scene in a row. It makes me want to skip cutscenes, but I can't because I don't want to miss valuable character development. Speaking of underdeveloped characters, the protagonists are uninteresting. Anytime I get a little nugget of information that makes the characters more appealing, all of their character development is just rushed. For example, one of the first characters that join your team, he's a lord that lost his hometown. Kind of goes something like this. Oh, I can't believe I lost my whole family. It's Louis's fault. Okay, let's move on. What? Your entire family died? And we only get like a 5-minute snippet of it? You're just telling me way too much, not showing me enough. I would be far more attached to this character if I got a 10, 15, 20-minute gameplay sequence where I got to see his family. At this point, the moment I get another character, I am sidelining him and putting that character in my party because I just don't like the guy other than the fact he's a warrior and he can do good damage. That's the only value he brings to the team. Which brings me to my next thing, which is I don't even know why we want to kill the antagonist. I really don't. The antagonist seems to be standing against a powerless kingdom, and so far, the game has portrayed to me that all he's done is just things that our main characters don't like. And without spoiling it, the team kind of brings the problems on themselves. They become the enemy of the state, or at least of his faction, right? No, it is the state because of what happens in the story. This part just doesn't make sense. How can I say this without spoiling anything? The will of the king stops them from killing Louis, from killing the antagonist. It's silly to me that we're going after the antagonist who's standing against a weak kingdom because our friend is in danger. But the will of the king is to let everything play out the way that it is. So I don't get why we're going after this guy. Now granted, this guy might be guilty of way more than he's letting on, but the game hasn't shown me that yet. The first 15 hours, so far, the antagonist is just a dude who's done some bad things for the greater good. I just don't have any personal motivation to go after him. Okay, now that I'm talking a bit more about the story, I got some points of frustration in me, and I gotta get it out here. There's gonna be some spoilers. This is the first 30 minutes of the game. If you don't mind that, I'm not gonna tell you every detail that happens. I'm just gonna kind of hit some bullet points. The game opens up with you in a cart with a few other people, and it's a beautifully animated cutscene. You get stopped by some bandits. One of the other characters in the cart is a really cool looking elf, and she just starts cutting them down and saving the people that were in the cart with you. And I'm thinking here, cool, we're about to engage these bandits and fight them, and this is the tutorial, and at the end of this I might get some experience, I'll learn how to play the game, I'll make a new friend. Nope. No, you fall down the side of the ravine. It's not too bad. I'm like, okay, that's fine. But when you land in this ravine, it's a big open space to explore. Oh, cool, this is where I get to fight my way through some enemies, learn about the combat. Maybe this is an open world game. Nope, every enemy in the area kills you. The game's just teaching you how to dodge and run away. That's not appealing. The next zone, which is even bigger, and I think surely I just had to dodge a bunch of really powerful enemies in the beginning, but now I get to kill some lower powered enemies and gain some experience. Nope, anytime you kill these enemies, you gain 0 experience. You get 0 progression, and that was frustrating. Once you get past this, you get into the town, and I think, wow, I get to explore this town and see everything. Nope, the game holds your hand.
Please, no! No! No!
And forces you into the story. You can't explore anything in this town. What is this game? Like, what is this game trying to teach me to do? That it's gonna hold my hand throughout the entire process? This doesn't feel really good to me. The story is interesting, don't get me wrong, in those first 45 minutes. There's just too much hand-holding and forcing you to just do what they want you to do while teasing you. And I just don't know what the game is communicating to me. A good opening to a game is gonna communicate to you what the game is gonna be. I feel like it just doesn't do the game justice. All that being said, I really do like this game. You might be confused and think I hate it, but it's because I like it so much that it frustrates me. These sorts of problems that could have been easily remedied. Metaphor Refantazio is a fun gameplay experience. Pick up the demo. You can play somewhere between 3 to 5 hours in the demo, and it's a fun game. If you enjoy it, I strongly recommend purchasing it. I still have to get through the rest of the game before I can give my full numbered review. But right now, it's fun, I enjoy the gameplay, and I continually want to get back to it. And I don't want to stop playing it.